Welcome to the finalToon video tutorial Line Styles. In this tutorial you will learn how to use, arrange or how to create a line style database for finalToon. Also we will see how many different line styles are already available with your installation of finalToon and how they are looking in a rendering. We start with this scene here. The scene is called /pen.max, as you can see up here. So this scene will show us a very interesting effect we can offer in finalToon. We have turned on /pen effect, and the effect, when we go to the render effects menu, we can check out what settings we have. Right now, for the ease of use, we use only the default edges, so the object has no material at all. We will all control, every control will be here in the render effect finalToon. We have two line styles turned on, the visible folds and the visible creases, and this will give us the rendering you see here. Let's take a look at the line style itself. The line style again is instance, so those two line styles are identical. So if I change one thing, it changes the other line style also. So right now we have a 2D effect here. The 2D effect is called /pen. It has an amount spinner and it has also an angle spinner. This controls how the line style or how the effect is rendered or applied to the object. The easiest one is the angle spinner. So if we go to the angle, let's say 360 degree, you will see that this thin area will move in the rendering. As you've seen, the thin area has moved up here. So the angle defines how you place the pen on the paper. Usually the shape of /pen, the tip is not a point like this here. You might see the pen looks like this, so it has a tip like this. So this is the contact area to the paper. So now depending on the rotation, so if we rotate the pen, let's say 90 degree, it will look like this, and you get a thinner, smaller contact to the paper. This is what happens here. So in this direction, all strokes in this direction will have the tip in this width, and all strokes in this direction will have the tip in oriented like this. So this gives a much smaller area here, what you see here. So this is a very powerful and nice feature to adjust your painting style. I have turned this back to 30%, and as you can see, 30 degrees, sorry, and as you can see, the flat area has moved to the side. But also, as you can see, we have extend turned on. Extend continues the line over its ends or edges. So the extend effect happens here, it happens here, very obvious, it happens here. So wherever there should be an end to the line, you get a crossover or an enlargement of the line. So if I turn off this effect, you will see that all those areas disappear. So as you can see, now we have no more the overlapping here. Also here the overlapping is gone, and so on. So this looks now much different. This extending gives a little bit more a hand-drawn look, so like you couldn't stop at the exact moment, and also the /pen gives a more natural line stroke. There are several thousands of combinations along with 3D effects, 2D effects, noise effects, so we could start to noise the line to get even more a more hand-drawn look. So let's just use this here, and also we go into interactive mode to see the effect we have here. So let's say we go to an amount of 10%, and you can see here updating in real time. We have now a very scattered look of the line, so it's not nice and smooth, and we can increase this noise on the line itself by just increasing the amount. Also, along with the amount, we have the frequency and the phase. That's the position of your noise pattern here. The frequency defines how often this frequency should repeat, and along with the amount you get different looks. So if we have a frequency, let's say of 100, you will see that they are now much more repeated, and we get even loops here inside of the line pattern. If we turn down the frequency to 1, we get it smoothed out. If we go to 0.1, you see now we get a smooth curved object or a line. So this looks really hand-drawn of a 3-year-old, for example. So because of these thousands of styles and effects you can adjust to your lines, it could be very easy and likely that you just get lost in adjusting and never find what you want. So whenever you have found a nice setting, you can store it on your hard drive. So finalToon is able to store a complete line style, and this means the line style is stored completely. Everything you adjust in here, everything of the visible styles, hidden styles, and the lines itself are stored in one file. The file is called FTS, that's the finalToon line style, and by just loading a line style you can see immediately how it looks like. And remember, still we have interactive turned on, so we get real-time update here for our line style. Remember, it might be that we don't get the full update. This depends on what we have turned on for our initial rendering. So if we have intersection, for example, and didn't render that, we need to update our scene to get the intersections rendered. So finalToon comes with several line styles, and you can add your own line styles or append or change line styles. Just load them in, like this line style, 3-year-old line style. Render the scene and you will see how the line style looks like. There are also line styles stored for technical illustration with 1 pixel width, and technical illustration means that all possible line styles are turned on. We have the hidden folds, hidden intersections, crease lines, and so on. So everything is stored in such a line style, and we have this with various line thickness, so you can have just load your line style and you have something to work on. So we have also very thin lines, 0.5, and also we have a line style called felt tip. So that looks, as you can see, has a certain look. And pencil 4B, that gives your pattern here, like it was drawn with a pencil. So there are all kinds of line styles, very easy to manage and very easy to handle, and those are just simple plain files with all the information in it, and those files can be copied among the network and everything. So let's just load the thick paintbrush. As you can see, we have these strips along this, so you can have really fancy things Or also what I like really best is the Japanese brush. This Japanese brush that loses or gets lighter when the paint runs out. So this is a really nice setup. Or the leaky pen is also very nice setup. So as you can see, this is really an incredible easy way to have your line styles in seconds adjusted and just work on a preset and change it to your own, store it to your hard drive, distribute it in your network, and all your fellow animators will have the same line style throughout the show you're planning, for example. I'm now going to load a different scene to show you some more advanced things you can do with the map controls we have in the line styles. So line styles are also controlled by maps, not only by simple numbers or parameters. I've loaded the scene map light control, as you can see here. This is also a standard scene that comes with finalToon, with the original shipment of finalToon. So you can find this in your finalToon directory on your hard drive. This scene is a very special scene. It shows an advanced line style map effect. In classic cartoons or classic illustrations, you usually have a guideline where you have in the shadow areas the line is much wider or thicker, and in the bright areas the line is much thinner. To achieve such a complex effect, you would use the advanced features of finalToon. So let's just render the scene here and see what's going on. Take a close look at the line thickness. As you can see here in the highlight area or the illuminated area, the line gets very, very thin. And in the shadow area, we have a very wide or thick line. So, and this affects the visibility to the light. So we have here a very thick line, and here it becomes thinner. So this is also gives your renderings a more natural hand-drawn look, because it adds irregularities depending on your illumination. How do we achieve this effect? So let's just check the render effects and go to the default edges, and let's check the default one line style. And we have in the file render line editor, we have the edge maps. The edge maps control the lines, the outlines, or the lines drawn by finalToon. And as you can see, we have a fall-off map in here. So the fall-off map creates the effect. And right now, as you can see, the fall-off map controls the thickness of the line. And the amount defines how much the fall-off map influences your initial thickness you set here. And let's have a look at the line style, at the map. And right now we have the map in here. That's our fall-off map. As you can see, we use this fall-off map here. That's the same map we have. And the fall-off map defines how the light is affecting the thickness of the line. And as you can see, we just have a manually drawn curve. So the setting here of the fall-off map is shadow light. So everything pointing to the light will become white. Everything pointing to the shadow will become black. That's all. That's the whole secret of this scene. So if we want to change something in here, we can change all the behavior of the fall-off type. Another interesting thing is also along with the thickness we could perhaps control the opacity. If I turn this on, let me just cancel this. So let me just control the opacity, and now we will have both effects affected. And as you can see, the opacity reduces as we approach the highlight or the direct light area, and the opacity is higher in the darker areas. So we can also say, okay, we want twice the influence on the original opacity. We render again, we get here invisible lines, and still we see some lines here. So you have full control of your effect. It's just a matter of using the correct map to control the effect you want. And the same goes for a bump map effect. So a bump map effect is a really funny thing. It uses a standard bump function, but right now this was not a clever map to choose. I choose the cellular, and here we should see now a much better distortion. So our line is now distorted with a cellular map at the edges of the object. So this can create also very interesting effects, and again you can animate this map. So you have all the features of 3D Studio Max, all the power of 3D Studio Max Material Editor. And we can also adjust the lines in the shadow, and we can adjust the color of the lines. So for example, let's just use the gradient ramp again and just render it, and the gradient ramp will now define the line style. So we might need to adjust the gradient ramp a little bit. So for this I'm dragging this here into the material editor, choosing instance, and we would just choose again a radial effect and just render again, and then we will get the coloring of the lines according to the gradient. There are many different ways and options we could use. For example, as you can see here, now the gradient is depending on the light position and so on. We can use even other maps. Any map would work. Could use a cellular map, for example, to define the color of the line. So if we, for example, use, let's say, a bluish thing and a yellow thing, very crazy combination. You see the cellular pattern here. So if we go and just decrease the size a little bit, we should see more patterns here in the cellular map. So you have full control of your line colors, line styles, how they are affected. The edge maps are a really powerful feature, and in combination, for example, with the bump map, you can create all kinds of crazy effects. So there's really unlimited options and functions here. You can control the thickness, you can control how the ink runs out, at which distance it runs out. That would be these settings here. So there are really many combinations, and I would just suggest that you go ahead, load a line style and use it as a base for your lines. And that's the very easy method of starting with your own line style database. Please check out also the other tutorials, and also read the manual. It has all the information about the parameters and how they affect each other.